All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Music City Trop Rock. My name is Jason Acey. I'm your host, coming to you live from Nashville, Tennessee, and coming to you from Leaky Tiki Studios. All right. I'm excited about tonight. I've been looking forward to this for a few weeks. It's going to be a good show. We've got a really good guest tonight. If you're listening to this, you've probably heard his music. We're going to be talking to singer-songwriter and trop rock artist Monallo here in just a minute. I just got a couple little things to take care of, and we're going to get right into the interview because I don't want this to be very long. I have a special shout out to Dockside Live Radio and Brian Burns, because on my last episode, I made the little slide with the radio stations on there, and I left them out, and I am sorry. Because they've been really good to me and played my music and actually featured one of my songs, Heaven Must Be an Island, on their Friday Fives for like a month. So my bad. I made that slide like in haste right before that episode and left you guys off. So special shout out to you. If you haven't listened to Dockside Live Radio, go check them out. A little bit of an updated guest schedule. We've got Monallo on tonight. September 9th is going to be Mark Mulch. September 23rd is going to be Alan Jacks Bowers. And then we've added one October 7th. Miss Kirsty Krause is going to join us. So looking forward to that and working on a few more. If I've asked you, if you're interested in doing this, please get back with me and we'll make it happen. A little bit of Music City news, because there's not really a big trop rock scene here in Nashville, but there are some artists, some singer-songwriters that do dabble in that. And I know the Music City Fans, the Parrot Head Club here in Nashville, does a really good job at promoting all these people, promoting their shows and going out to see people. And so, yeah, we've got a little bit of news, and I forgot to add my little thing. Hang on. Welcome to Music City Trop Rock. There we go. Gotta promote myself. So yeah, we got a little bit of local news. One of those artists has been around trop rock for a while now. Songwriter Will Kimbrough is going to get the Homegrown Tap Room on September 7th. I've already got my tickets to that. Going to go see that. And October 5th, Fingers Taylor tribute show. It's called Sing for Fing. Is going to be at 3rd and Lindsley. That's put on by the Songwriters Joint. And looking way out, January 31st, I do believe it's the last. I think it's Friday. McAnally is going to be playing at the Ryman Auditorium here in Nashville. And believe it or not, I've been here for like 22 years or something like that. I've never been to the Ryman Auditorium. And so my first time is going to be seeing Matt McAnally. So I'm excited about that. All right, let me put my notes up over here out of the way. And it looks like he's in the waiting room, in the green room. We're going to add him. Here we go. We're going to get right into it. Mr. Monallo, how you doing? James Drake.
Hey, doing good, Jason. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me.
Doing really good, man. You've been staying busy, hadn't you?
It's been a busy summer so far. So finally enjoying a little bit of downtime before the next wave starts. But it's been a busy summer for sure.
Looks like you've been driving all over the country.
Feels like I've been driving all over the country. Yeah, I think I have been a little bit.
Cool, man. So before we get started, I came up with this today. This is going to be a curveball for you. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
I'm going to start asking all my guests this, okay? You ready?
Yeah.
Do you believe in Bigfoot, yes or no?
Ooh, you're starting off with a hard hitter, man. I'm gonna go yes. Let's be a believer.
Yes. All right, here we go. You're first on the board. We're gonna keep a tally here.
I'm just the guinea pig. Yeah.
That's right. You are my guinea pig. No, you're more than a guinea pig, man. I've been looking forward to this for a few weeks.
Yeah, me too, man.
Let's well, just tell us a little bit about yourself. If there's anybody out there listening that doesn't know who you are, they might see this in the future, So just tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So Monallo is me, but it's not a real name. That's just the band name. Just currently bandless, but working on that. Singer-songwriter, got for my own music. Oh, over almost 10 years ago now, which surprises some people because I'm pretty new to the trop rock world. But kind of like a folk singer songwriter kind of guy. Got started writing in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and that's where Monallo comes. Two rivers that meet at the point in Pittsburgh, right there in the city, the Monongahela, the Allegheny, and the Ohio rivers. So I needed to name my band and scramble those letters up. That's where Monallo came from. So um, just yeah, been kind of growing and growing the travel distance out over the years. Released my first Monallo EP in 2020, and that has that song "Live by the Sea" on it. And in 2022, I moved down here to Florida, and I was just trying to think actually before we did this what the catalyst was. I can't even remember how I stumbled into trop rock. I started sending that song "Live by the Sea" from that 2020 record out to like fall 22, and that introduced me to trop rock. So a couple stations picked that one up, and it's kind of been good from there. It released another album last year called "In the Clouds." I got to go out and work with one of my favorite musicians named Matt Costa out in Southern California. That one has a cool like indie vibe. I learned a lot from working with him, and this year more and more touring. This has probably been the busiest year I've had to date, which as a musician, it's not a bad problem to have. It's funny. Been all over the place, but it's awesome. And this year I put out this record, "Songs from the Sand," and I produced this one all by myself, which was a whole undertaking of its own. But it was very cool to have my hands on all these songs and get to really kind of apply all that I've learned over the past couple of years. And very happy with the way it's turned out. The troppiest of the records I've put out, but it's
The
got a lot of
troppiest.
good, the troppiest, I would say. And it's got a lot of
Okay.
feel good songs to it. And yeah, so I've just been enjoying promoting that this year, traveling around and collaborating and playing with as many other people as I can, and just growing and meeting new people and making new friends along the way. And it's been a blast. So I'm looking forward to where it goes from here.
Cool, man. Cool. You covered some of my questions already, so I'm gonna have to skip around a little bit. I got a list. Um, so do you
All
remember how
right,
you? Yeah, we're gonna go back. Okay. Um,
sure.
how did you first get into music? Like, what's your first musical memory?
Oh man. My first like musical memory is actually singing Jerry Jeff Walker songs. Navajo Rug. I used to sing that song a lot when I was like 4 years old. I would just sing. I play instruments. I just loved music, and I loved listening to music and just singing and making stupid little songs up about anything. And then I didn't pick up a guitar till I was like 16, so it took me a while to get into music actually as a actual thing. And then in college, I just played a couple bands here there as just a side guy. And then after college, I was like, oh, I might be able to write some songs or just do some cover gigs, something on my own. And I ended up losing my voice, and I had a vocal cord surgery actually, and so
Mm,
I thought I was done before I got started. Surgery went good, and I just started writing, and that's when I started putting out my own originals, and I just never looked back from there.
yeah. Was what was the loss? What caused that?
I had vocal nodes on my vocal
Okay.
cord.
Wow.
And so they had to check them out. But yeah, it's actually funny. Adele and I went in for the same surgery on the same day,
Ah.
and we both turned out okay. But
So did you come from a musical family at all?
not particularly. Not particularly. Brother and I started learning. I have a younger brother. We started learning guitar at the same time, and he kind of took a different career path. But every now and then, if he's around, I'll make him hop up with me and play a couple songs. But other than that, not a really strong music background family. So it's just I always liked and just started to pursue as soon as I could figure out a way to do that. So I'm constantly learning, and I love to learn about it. And that's what I think is so cool about kind of my journey is I'm like a sponge, man. I just soak everything up. I love working with other people, and
Yeah.
for this latest record, I had to master it, and I called and asked him if I could go sit in on his mastering session because I'd hung out with Matt Costa during the last record and learned all about how to mix properly and properly producing and bringing instruments and leaving space where space should be, all that kind of stuff that you don't really think about when you
Yeah.
hear a well-produced record. And I'd never seen the mastering side of things, so I called Jack up and I was like, "Hey, when you master, can you call me so I can come hang out?" So he gave me a call, and I went out and I hung up with him. And I was hang out with him, and I was like, "I'm not gonna bug you. Do what you're gonna do. I just want to watch and see how it
Right.
works." And so I don't know. I just love doing that. I love this. I love contributing. I love writing songs and sharing them. So it's kind of been one of those passions for me.
Cool, man. Uh, Going back to that last question, really, so are you self-taught, or did you take lessons or anything like that when you were younger?
Little bit of both. The musical experience I had was I took like piano lessons for a very short time like I was like 12 or something. That was just actually through school. Even it didn't even like last that long. And then got a guitar, started teaching myself a little bit. Then took some lessons for about a year for lessons. I was big into sports in high school, and it didn't. The schedules didn't work out, so I had to drop something. So
Right.
I started teaching myself more and more about guitar, and that's when people say a lot. Oh, you sounds a little bit like Jack Johnson. Well, that's because I would listen to Jack Johnson records and kind of copy what he was doing myself, more of the finer parts of guitar by listening to his records and stuff. So I got a
That was
little
my
bit of base of the theory and that kind of stuff, and then just
Yeah,
taught myself after that.
that was my next question. Like, who were your early influences? And I knew Jack Johnson had to be one of them. And there's definitely like some reggae uh,
Yeah,
feel to some of your
yeah.
stuff.
I think the reggae stuff kind of comes from that Jack Johnson and that Buffett vibe of just the island kind of lifestyle. And I've always loved the water. I live in Florida now, which is awesome. It's been a dream of mine. But I grew up
You're
in
rubbing it
Tennessee.
in.
Um,
You're rubbing it in.
I
It's the
know,
third
man.
time
I
you
was
said
I couldn't for years. Yeah, so now I just rub it in whenever I can. But I grew up in Tennessee, and I lived in Pennsylvania for a long time, and Virginia for a couple of years. So it's nice to be down here. But that influence of just that island water beach boat thing, I think that's where that reggae feel comes from. But um, I mean, country. It was all country, and you couldn't go anywhere and turn on the radio, and it wasn't country. So that '90s country. I listened to a lot of that, and one of my buddies, he's another songwriter. He's like, "Man, you just write these choruses," and I was like, "That's typically what I start with is like a chorus." He's like, "You to him." I was like, "Man, I grew up in that '90s country. It was all about the chorus hook, And I was
right.
like, it's got to be catchy like that." And then so from the country, I went on to have about a decade of classic rock influences and listen. That was all I listened to for a long time. Really got into pursuing guitar. Was listening to those bands, and um, that was for a while. And then I got into more of the more modern kind of rock. And then after I had my vocal cord surgery, I was like, "All right, I'm gonna slow back down, and get back to my roots of the Bob Dylan, the Jack Johnson, the
Hmm.
kind of Van Morrison, the John Prine, James Taylor kind of vibe." And so that's where I am now. Yeah,
Yeah, I forgot you said that you grew up in Tennessee. What part of Tennessee were you in?
I lived in Manchester, so
That's
right
right.
there, now home of Bonnaroo. Yeah,
On top
that
of the hill?
exit. Uh, I live like so out 55, like right past where Bonnaroo is, a couple miles
In
that way.
in Manchester, like on top of a I'm thinking about some other place. In Manchester, like on top of a big hill?
Wouldn't put it on a hill. No, I wouldn't put it on a hill. It's pretty flat from what
Maybe
I
I'm thinking about something
remember.
else.
It's on the Cumberland Plateau, so I think
Okay.
it's not on the hill just yet. Yeah,
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking about.
yeah. Are you thinking like Mont Eagle? Because it's before you get up there, like Mont
That's
Eagle area. It's still on the far. Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking about, money. Okay. All right.
Yep.
So well, early Jimmy Buffett influences. Were you a Jimmy Buffett fan early on? Like, and like, what was your? Do you remember what your first exposure to Jimmy Buffett was?
First exposure was it just being played in my house. My a couple CDs, and they were fans. They still are fans, I should say. But yeah, so it was just played in the house a lot. Like as much as anything else was played in our house. So my parents are both from up north, so I don't know if they were really ever into country, like Tennessee, Nashville country. I heard a lot of. That's where I heard all the other like songwriters type stuff, and Buffett was in that rotation, and it was just around, and I just enjoyed it. And I remember I went to my first show when I was like 17 or 18, probably. I went to my first, got to see Buffett for the first time. Was hooked after that. The atmosphere in person
Yeah.
just took all the songs that I'd heard and known and just took them to a whole nother level. And one of my favorite songs ever is Pirate Looks at 40. And that was one of my first like favorite of Buffett songs I heard. And again, kind of talking about like space. It's written so well,
Hmm.
but it's really kind of empty for a lot of it. It's very simple. And so that was one of the first songs I learned how to play on guitar once I started playing. So I was like, I got to learn this song. And I still play that
And,
one whenever I can.
yeah, I do too. And that's an oddball song because there is no chorus. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of verses,
Yep.
and
Yeah, but it tells a
people
great
love it.
story. Yeah.
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 So going back to when you said you kind of had the band and you went solo, uh, I kind of had a similar past. I played in a lot of bands over the last 35 years. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you decided to go solo, were there any trepidations? Were there any obstacles you had to overcome to like to say, all right, I'm going to get out there and it's going to be me and a guitar and it's all going to be on me and I don't have anybody else to blame. That's a whole different animal to
Um,
tackle.
it is it is a whole different thing. And my I had a band in Pittsburgh, and we played for several years together, and we started playing the originals I'd started writing together. But then we just moved from Pittsburgh to Virginia, and we kept after it. Logistically, it just kind of got to be a lot of uh, really trying to work everybody's schedules out when I was the only one that wasn't in Pittsburgh. And so we kind of faded out that way. And so it really wasn't like it was like a gradual thing, like I would
Mhm.
play and, we had a like core band, then we had two or three others that we would add occasionally. And then we kind of played as a trio and then a duo and then just kind of me. So, um, yeah, it definitely is because that was also when I really took my guitar playing to the next level as well. Because when you are kind of out there naked, and I've been hiding behind the talents of um, amazing players, who could fill these excellent gaps in songs with riffs or
Right.
solos or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's just you. Sometimes you got to do a little bit more than just strum four chords, and so
Right.
that was when I kind of started to take guitar more seriously and instead just be a strummer. Be like, all right, I could. I by no means am I the best guitar player in the world. I'm not a shredder. I'm none of that. But I'm very comfortable with the guitar now, and playing with other people or by myself or whatever. So that was kind of the big leap when you went solos. You're kind of exposed up
For
there, so
sure.
you better make it
Right.
work.
Right. Right. Tell us about some of your favorite venues or events that you like to play right now.
I like to play.
Yeah, or plays
I
that you
have really
like to
been
go back to.
enjoying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've really been enjoying house concerts lately, especially for where my music's at. And I think I can, what. When did you like enter trop rock? When did you like come into the trop rock world?
It was last summer. Like I think I released the first song in May of last year.
Last summer. Okay, so then like only like I was like September before that for trop rock. So like we're both newer to it.
Hmm.
So building friendships in the trop rock world, the house concerts are parallel because you can just you're playing for people that want to hear new original music, and it's so cool because as songwriters we have these stories behind the songs, and people actually want to hear the stories. And it's really cool to be able to share them with people and environments. So I've really been enjoying house concerts lately. But I am looking forward to adding a couple people back to the Monallo sound and taking some bigger stages next year, hopefully. But definitely enjoying the house concerts for now. And I've really been enjoying that. You know, it's a nice break from breweries, which of breweries.
Right.
That's just a great spot to take this kind of laid back vibe of music to a location that typically has music a lot. So you can really make a good tour or a good, run of shows in breweries and make it work. So I've played a ton of breweries. And I love breweries, nothing against them, but concert vibe because it's more focused on the originals, which is really what I like to focus on.
Right. I'm going to do a special episode on house concerts coming up. I hadn't really figured out exactly what it's going to be, but I think that's a very important part of trop rock. I've not
Mm-hmm.
broken into that yet, but I know that they're all over the country, and there's probably a lot of people that don't even
Yeah,
know what what a house concert is. But yeah, I'm gonna put together something for that.
you absolutely
So
should. And yeah, that's the thing is
yeah,
they're everywhere. Once you start looking at them, when I first got into trop rock, I thought, and then once you get into the weeds, you're like, oh man, they are everywhere and anywhere. And then, yeah, it is funny to introduce new people to the house concert world. There's like, wait, I just show up at this person's house. I'm like, yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Bring a cooler, and it's just going to be a good time.
yeah, all up north and Midwest, and not just all over the place. Uh,
Everywhere, yeah, yeah.
so if you're not listening to yourself, who are some other trop rock artists that you enjoy listening to?
Ooh, that's a tough one. You're making me name names. Huh? The problem is I don't want to forget anybody, but I typically do the stations, like the streaming apps, and I try and listen to a different station like every now and then, because I find that's the best way to hear everybody. On the like streaming apps, I typically listen to more like the apps like Spotify or Apple or Amazon Music. I listen to more stuff, but that in the trop rock stations, I don't know. I like everybody that I hear. I think everybody. The cool thing about trop rock is it's such a wide genre. Um, it
Yes.
goes from like pure rock, it goes to pure country to folk and laid back to reggae to what it covers so many sounds that it's actually a pretty good like variety station. So it's better than like going on to one of those apps and trying to make a playlist yourself when people are already doing it for you. So that's typically what I do. I listen to those, and I just enjoy everybody that's up. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I've been digging everybody. I learn a lot of new people. Being new, we're newer to the scene. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people that I still am trying to learn who's who, and oh, I like this song. Who's that? Oh, I don't know them yet, or I haven't heard of them before, but they've been around for a long time, so it's been cool.
Yeah. I think last week I described trop rock as a wide, deep bucket, and it does,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the parameters are pretty loose, and it's a hard thing to describe to somebody, and it's this and this and this, but it's a lot of things. Um,
hmm
so when you're not listening to trop rock, what do you listen to?
Um, a lot of that. Kind of in the Jack Johnson vein or Jack Johnson derivative. So I'm really big on this guy, Don McCloskey, right now. This band Ripe, that's out of Massachusetts, that I'm a big fan of. They're kind of they're not quite reggae-ish, but they definitely have like a little bit more of a party vibe to them. They got a lot of good
Mhm.
songs, and the band called the Elevators, which are pretty big right now. I enjoy listening to them, and this guy John Craigie, who's a folk songwriter, and man, I love his lyrics and his songs. I could listen a long time. So those are probably the main ones that are on my quick access on there.
Cool, cool. Um, Try not to say too much. My wife says you're saying too much. I can't help it.
You're doing good, man. I say all the time. You gotta you think every now and then.
Yeah. So tell us about your songwriting process. Do you have the inevitable song idea lists on your phone that you refer back to and try to pull something out of?
No, I feel like I'm a bad habited songwriter. I hang out with other songwriters like, oh, I'm gonna write these songs this week. I've got these ideas, and I'm gonna write with this person, this person, this person. And I'm like, oh man, I haven't written a song in a couple months. And to me, I don't know, it's a feast or famine kind of thing. Sometimes I'm just tapped out and I'm tired. But even right now, I typically have a guitar sitting within arm's reach, and I'm always
Yeah.
noodling around, and sometimes something sticks, and I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. What would that be about? But so the process for me is much more when it comes push. I don't force stuff too often, and I feel like
Mhm.
when I write stuff personally that does seem forced, it really comes across that way. So there's some songs I started years ago, and it took me a long time to finish them. There's a song on
Sure.
Songs from the Sand that just came out, and it's called Back to Paradise. I started writing it the first time I went to Belize in 2019, and I just finished it a couple months ago because I didn't like the way it was like I didn't like the way it was flowing. I'd written the chorus and the music down there on the island, and when I got back, I just couldn't feel the verse telling the story correctly. And then one day, I was just sitting here messing around, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna start with this," and then poof, off to the races with this. So that's
Right.
more of my process. Is just kind of noodling around, trying stuff out, and then when something sticks, I'm typically off to the races with it. But it could take a while.
Yeah, I'm sort of the same way. It's either feast or famine, like you said.
Hmm.
Sometimes you really have to work at it if it's something you feel passionate about, and sometimes, like one of my musical heroes, Radney Foster, said, sometimes you're just a guy holding the pen, and it all just
Hmm.
falls out. And those are the ones
Yeah.
that you hope it happens that way every time, but that rarely happens.
Yeah.
Uh,
Agreed.
so who is a bucket list person that you would like to write with?
Hmm. That's a good question.
You didn't know I was going to have
Um.
such hard questions, did you?
No, man. You put one and you never look back, man. I tell you what. Bucket list person to write with. Um. That's tough. I got a big list of people that I want to write with. And I've been kind of crossing some names off this year, which has been nice. Bucket list would probably be uh, John Craigie. Like I was saying, one of my favorite song. Like that dude, he's just such a good songwriter that it'd just be crazy to be in a room to see where he gets some of his lyrics from and his inspiration from it. I don't even know if it'd be necessarily writing with him, but just being like a fly on the wall during his writing process would be pretty.
Yeah.
And so he'd be up there. I got to put. I mean, Jack Johnson. If I wrote a song with Jack Johnson, I think I'd be over the moon, stoked, and it'd probably just be a dream. I'd wake up in the morning, but I don't know. I'm just happy to work with anybody.
Right.
This is also the first year I've really ever collaborated with anyone. Just it's just been incredible. It's the first time I've ever released a song that was written by somebody else and that they gave to me to put out. It's the first time I've ever co-written songs that are getting put out. So it's really cool. I just enjoy working with anybody. If anybody wants to, if I can make it work, I'm pretty much in. It's all about time.
Well, speaking of collaborations, let's talk about your new album, Songs from the Sand. And you had
Yeah,
several collaborations on that. Tell us how those came about.
sure. So I'm looking over here because I got I can never remember what song I'll it over here. So the backbone of the like Jax Bowers is on I think 7 of the 10 songs doing percussion and drum. So that was a big collaboration because I was about to just kind of strip everything back a little bit and do in-house percussion or drum. So that was pretty cool in itself. And then the Everything's Beachy song was quite an undertaking. And to kind of go back to say, like, that was a song that I didn't write actually. I was at doing the Songwriters Festival here in Fort Myers, Florida, called Island Hopper Festival. It's a BMI festival, and and they kind of pair you up with twos, which is actually how I met a guy named Mark Mulch, which maybe we'll get to him in a second too. But I met this guy
Mhm.
Brian Ruby, and he was like, "You got like a beachy vibe to you, don't you?" I was like, yeah. I mean, it's laid back, it's chill. I live down here now, and it's hard to get away from it." And he's like, "I'm gonna send it to you. Do whatever you want with it." And I was like, "You sure?" He's like, "Oh yeah." And so he sent me a song, "Everything's Beachy," that he'd written with two of his buddies in Nashville, and I didn't know what to do with this song I hadn't written, so I just started calling a lot of people that I had either played with. Trop rock, so it was just people I'd either played with or seen several times or hung out with backstage somewhere. And so that was I got Brian Ruby back on his own song. Jax Bowers is on it too. I got Donnie Brewer on the song. Sonny Jim, Jonas Lawrence, Aubrey Wallet, and Stoll on it. And me, Brighton, and Aubrey did a TRMA showcase last year together. And when we were sitting there, we're like, man, we should. I hope something pops up we can do together. And when the song came, it was like, oh, we gotta. It'd be fun to do all this song together. And then kind of
Yeah.
as it went, I was like, oh man, it sounded really cool. If it had some pan to it, let me call Sonny to some pan together. I was like, man, it's a pretty cool country tune. It kind of needs like a real southern like guitar lick to it. So I called Jonas. I was like, Jonas, he had me some like guitar, and so it was just kind of cool how that came together. And then it was wild too because I produced everything here, and everybody lives all over working musicians, so it's really hard to get anybody nailed down
Right.
time wise. So I had everybody record at their studios at their houses and send me their files, and then I had to mix them all and
Yeah.
kind of EQ them all here, so it sounded like we were all in the same room at the same time. Which I mean, everybody did a great job of making it sound cohesive like one room, and it turned out pretty cool. So I was very excited about that. So that was the big
It's a
collaboration. Yeah.
it's a good record, man. I really like it. I was gonna say
Thanks.
I think my favorite songs are Tide by Tide and Back to
Oh, cool.
Paradise.
Yeah.
Those are my
Oh,
two
very cool.
favorite. And I was going to point out because there's a really cool part in The Man in Yellow where you did like this tribal chant type deal for just a second, like,
Yeah.
and I thought when I heard it, I thought, oh, this is he going to start doing this, and you didn't do it quite as long as I
Yeah.
thought it was going to go, and I was like, oh, that was cool. I had to rewind and listen to it.
Yeah.
But
Yep. Yeah.
you want to tell us about
That
that?
was a cool part. Yeah. So that song's a true story song about a flight I took down to the Caribbean on one of those little island hopper planes, and it just kind of did a little skid stop thing, and it went down there one of those little planes. So I was like, and I looked over at the guy next to me on the plane. He's like, I've never seen him do this before, and I was like, oh, this could actually be it. Um, so I just wrote that song once we landed. I was like, that's a funny experience. That's I love getting out there and doing stuff and experiencing stuff, and then getting to write about it. So that was kind of one of those songs. When I went to the studio with Jax to like lay down the scratch track so he could do the drums to that. I was like, we're gonna give. I got Jax Bowers here. Like, let's give Jax a little like time to just kind of stretch and just kind of get in there with a little bit of some fill and make it. And so he laid that down. I was like, man, that's so cool. And then the original cut of that song, I actually told the story over the drums, which was pretty cool. But I actually found that it took away from Jax's solo because you start focusing on the words rather than the music. So I ended up cutting the story part out. So that was it. I just wanted Jax to stretch his wings. I just wanted him. I just wanted to do his thing, man. And I was like, I was like, you're the pro in this situation. You do what you want to do here, and it'll be cool. So
Yeah. Well, it's cool. It is. You got a new song out with Mark Mulch called Sunrise Vibes. It's really hot right now all over the place. You want to tell us about that?
yeah, yeah. So that was the same festival, Island Hopper Festival here in Fort Myers, a couple years ago. Mark came down. We got paired up randomly, and we just started hitting it off. Those kind of things that get along really well. It's just kind of you each do your set and go your separate ways. And Mark and I actually got paired up for back-to-back nights. So going in the first night, I think we both knew that we had to like each other well enough that we were going to have to share the stage the next night. But we hit it off great. And during the performance, it's only like an hour, but by the end of it, I was jumping in on his songs I hadn't heard before. He was jumping in on my songs he hadn't heard before. We just kind of vibed.
Yeah.
And afterwards, he's like, "Oh, we should write something together." I was like, "Oh, that'd be really cool." And then it's funny. This was before either of us was in Trop Rock. Neither of us had heard of Trop Rock. We didn't know anything about this whole world. And then like a month or two later, then a month or two after I was in, I start seeing his name places, and he put out this song with Kirsty Krause. And I was like, I
Hmm.
texted Kirsty. I was like, "Wait, how do you know Mark?" I was like, I met Kirsty through Trop Rock. I was like, how do you know Mark? And she's like, "Yeah, I know Mark from Nashville." And it turns out everybody knows Mark. Mark's a good dude. He's a great dude. But
Yeah.
so he was a song together sometime. And last year, almost a year ago exactly, I had posted like a picture of the sunrise here over the river in Fort Myers, and I just put like a little hashtag like sunrise vibes or something. And Mark texted me. He's like, "That's it. That's the song we're gonna write." And so I was like, "Oh dang, that's cool." Like all he said, feast or famine. Once we had that, we were off to the races. And that day, our phones were just boop, 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 going off because I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So I started writing like a chorus, and I texted it to him right away. He's like, "Oh, that's cool. Let's change this," and he'd send it back. And so we were just sending these ideas back and forth and back and forth. And the basic gist of it, and we're like, "All right, we got to hop on a Zoom and just knock this song out." So then we did, and we're like, "Man, that turned out pretty cool." And so he wanted to put it on his upcoming record, and so I went up to Nashville and we hopped in the studio and had a great time recording it, and it's out. So it's awesome. But yeah, we really dig
Cool.
it, and really excited by the way it was kind of born and the way it turned out. So it's great.
It's a good song. Everybody go check it out. Before we go
Thank
too
you.
long,
Yeah.
yeah, before we go too long, I wanted to say, I remember I texted you after I met you, after I found out what your real name was. I said, man,
Yeah.
I said, because I used to play with a guy back in Mississippi. His name was James Drake, and everybody called him
That's
Drake.
crazy.
And I got this picture right here. I don't know if I can show it. Hang on, without the glare showing. This is him right here, James Drake. That's me. There's James right there. Don't pay any attention to this guy in the sombrero. No, it's good. Anyway, yeah, but he passed away, I think, in 2005 or 2006. He had cancer, but he was a monster guitar player. Fingers this long. When he did this, he was covering the whole neck.
Yeah.
Just a monster player.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw that name. I was like, whoa, that's a blast from the past. But
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, that's so crazy.
so changing gears a little bit, tell us how you talked your wife into moving to Florida.
Um,
Because I'm
what's
sure there's
funny?
other people that want to know this information.
Yeah, well, she actually brought it up to me. But here's the secret. We were living in Virginia,
I'm listening.
near Washington D.C., and I was getting real tired of the traffic up there all the time. So she went out to work one day, and again, talking about feast or famine. By the time she came back from work, I had written and recorded my song "Live by the Sea," which was the first single off that "By the Sea" record in 2020. I was like, "Oh, what do you think of this song?" She's like, "Oh, it's a good song," and she's like, "It's probably one of the better ones you've written so far." I was like, "Yeah, I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited. Like it's all about going down and living by the beach, and all about the easy life and the salt air and all that stuff." She's like, "Oh, it's a cool song." And so then I just kept playing it. She'd come watch me play shows. I play it. I play it. I play it. We were looking to move out of Virginia. She's like, "What do you think about Florida?" I was like, "Yes, finally it worked." So it's the long game. It's all about the long game and planting those seeds, man.
Long game.
Just got to make one of
Long
those
game.
songs.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So tell us what events you got coming up. Where can people see you play?
Yeah. So next Friday, the 30th of August, I'm going to be in Punta Gorda here in Florida for the Charlotte Harbor Parrot Head Club's birthday party. It's like a whole weekend festival, and I'll be kicking it off on Friday. Then taking a couple week breaks, and then I got a couple shows down here in Florida Festival again. It's a great songwriter festival here in Fort Myers. And then I'm going to be out in Sebring, Florida, with the Parrot Head Club out there, and there's a house concert in there here in Cape Coral, Florida, with my friend Frank, and I'll be up in Bradenton December at Three Keys Brewing. And then October begins the trail to Meeting of the Minds. I'll be doing a couple pre-Meeting of the Minds shows at the Yard in Tampa with John McDonald and a bunch of friends there. And then be doing Donnie Brewer's Caravan to the Keys in Ocala, Florida, on my way to Gulf Shores. Which would be a lot of fun. Yeah, so those my next couple months.
I will be in Gulf Shore, so I'm sure we'll hook up and maybe we'll do another
Awesome.
interview.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll pick some.
that'd be great.
So where can
Deal.
people find you? You got a website, or where can people find out what you're
If
doing?
you got the internet, you can find me, man. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. The website is www.monallomusic.com. And Facebook, it's just Monallo, one word. Instagram is Monallo Music. Those are always the best places to find me. And you can stream my music on any of the Trop Rock stations. You can throw a request in there, and I try to make it easy to find me. So just look up this word Monallo, and you should find me somewhere. Yeah.
Well, there you go, man. Thanks for coming on and being my first guest. I hope it went
Hey,
well
man,
for
thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please, when
I
this,
didn't ruin guests for you.
I got a special thumbnail for this. So after it, gets through going, I'll put that on there. This platform won't let me put it on there from the beginning, so I'll get it on there. And please share it wherever you want to share it. And man, just thank you for coming on, and I'll be in touch.
Absolutely, man. Still there. Sorry about that.
All
All
right,
right,
man.
man.
We'll be
Thanks so
in
much for
touch.
having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks. All right. Thank
Sounds
you,
good,
man.
brother. Take care.
All right. And thank y'all for joining me on Music City Trop Rock. Please share this video and get the word out. If there's anybody else you'd like to see on here, let me know and let them know. And, till next time, fins up, keep the party going.